dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays, 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
Mozambique holds a general election on the 9th of October, but voters fear they will be deprived of a fair and democratic electoral process. The Southern African nation and is one of the poorest countries in the world, despite its vast natural gas deposits. Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua apologizes to his boss, President William Ruto, and citizens after lawmakers launched an impeachment proceeding.
If you insubordinate the state, you are not worth being a state officer.
And Ethiopia's capital hosted thousands at the Irecha Heritage Festival on one end of Addis Ababa, and on the other, thousands celebrated an annual religious festival marked by the lighting of bonfires, according to the beliefs of the local Orthodox Christian faithful. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION, World is One.
Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching World DNA with me, Raisha Sehgal. There's lots planned upon the show, but first, a quick check on the headlines. Israel on high alert as nation observes the solemn Yom Kippur holiday. More than 120 rockets were fired at Israel in the first hours of the holiday. Special alert systems in place to warn the population. The United States hit Iran's oil and petrochemical sectors with new sanctions in response to Tehran's October 1st attack against Israel. Designates dozens of new companies and firms. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky meets German President. A meeting takes place shortly after German Chancellor Olaf Scholz announces $1.53 billion military aid package for Ukraine. Taiwan Defense Ministry says 24 PLA aircraft and 10 vessels detected operating around Taiwan. 22 aircraft crossed the median line and entered Taiwan's air defense identification zones. India expresses deep concern over theft of crown gifted by Prime Minister Modi to Jeshoshwari Kali Temple. Urges Bangladesh government to investigate the matter, recover the crown and take action against the perpetrators. At least 21 dead as dozens of attackers armed with guns, rockets and hand grenades stormed private coal mines in Pakistan's southwestern Balochistan province, slaying miners in their sleep and shooting others. South Korean military says North Korea launched around 40 balloons carrying trash towards its Gangwon province just 3 days after a similar launch. Since May, the North has sent thousands of trash balloons to South Korea. US President Joe Biden says Hurricane Milton caused an estimated $50 billion in damage as it slammed into Florida, triggering flooding and destruction and killing at least 16 people. Defending champions Australia put one foot in the semi-finals of the Women's T20 World Cup with a 9-wicket thrashing of Pakistan in Dubai. Our top focus on world DNA. Israel observed the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, as it faced global criticism over its military offensive in Lebanon and its soldiers firing on the UN peacekeepers. This was the first time since 1973 that the country was embroiled in an active war on the holy day. Israelis marked the day on high alert, with troops continuing combat operations in Lebanon and Gaza, and special alert systems in place to warn the population. More than 120 rockets were fired at Israel in the early hours of the holiday. The Hezbollah group warned residents in northern Israel to stay away from the Israeli army sites. As the holy day got underway, Israel faced diplomatic backlash over its strike on a UN peacekeeping position in southern Lebanon. The headquarters of UN interim force in Lebanon were hit by explosions for the second time in a span of 48 hours. Well, the Israeli army has been condemned by UN Chief Antonio Guterres and also several other world leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, and even its key ally, US President Joe Biden. IDF, meanwhile, has pledged to carry out a thorough review.
Israeli forces fired at a watchtower used by UN peacekeepers on Friday, injuring 2. That's according to a UN source. It's the third day in a row peacekeepers at headquarters in Nakora have reported Israeli fire at their positions. Lebanese caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati condemned the incident as a crime. It comes amid Israel's war against Hezbollah militants, with its latest attack in Beirut on Thursday night killing more than 20 people and injuring over 100, Lebanese authorities said. 3 security sources said the target here was a senior Hezbollah official who survived. Meanwhile, in Israel, Hezbollah killed a Thai worker after firing an anti-tank missile at a farming area, according to emergency services. The conflict between Israel and Hezbollah erupted 1 year ago. The Iran-backed group opened fire in support of Palestinian militant group Hamas at the start of the Gaza war. But the war in Lebanon has dramatically intensified over recent weeks, with Israel bombing Beirut's suburbs, killing top Hezbollah leaders and launching a ground attack. The UN source said that along with the tower that came under fire on Friday, troops also breached the perimeter of another peacekeeping base they'd fired at the day before. The UN's peacekeeping chief said that the safety of over 10,400 peacekeepers in Lebanon is, quote, increasingly in jeopardy. There was no immediate comment from the Israeli military on Friday's reported incidents.
stakes U.S. presidential polls is just 25 days away and election rallies are bristling with strident and rhetoric. Big names are stepping out to support their presidential nominees. The blue camp is bringing out the big guns. In the last leg of campaigning on Thursday night, former U.S. President Barack Obama addressed a rally in battleground Pennsylvania in a bid to galvanize support for Kamala Harris.
Former U.S. President Barack Obama made a passionate case against Donald Trump in Pennsylvania Thursday. He was headlining a rally in a state that may be key for Democrat Kamala Harris to win the White House, while she spent the day campaigning in Nevada and Arizona. Obama hit back at claims made by Trump that Biden and Harris withheld aid to Republican areas in the wake of Hurricane Helene.
Just made the stuff up. Everybody knew it wasn't true. When did that become okay?
Obama remains popular with the party base, and this was the first of several events he plans to do in states seen as crucial to victory in the coming weeks. They're aimed in part at spurring young people to show up for the November 5th election. September data from Tufts University showed voter registration among young people in 34 states is down compared with 4 years ago. Harris's campaign has also been struggling with men in the polls, and Obama zeroed in on male voters drawn to Trump who may see bullying as a sign of strength.
I am here to tell you that is not what real strength is. It never has been. Real strength is about working hard and carrying a heavy load without complaining. Real strength is about taking responsibility for your actions and telling the truth even when it's inconvenient. Real strength is about helping people who need it and standing up for those who can't always stand up for themselves.
The Trump campaign dismissed Obama's remarks and influence, with the Trump campaign spokesperson saying, quote, "If anyone cared about what Obama says, Hillary Clinton would have been president." Obama has tried to act as a campaign closer before for Democrats in 2016 and 2020. According to an aide, Obama has so far helped raise $80 million for the 2024 presidential campaign. Meanwhile, Trump was in Detroit on Thursday, where he made a speech to the Detroit Economic Club in a push to appeal to auto workers, promising tax breaks on car loans and a ban on Chinese vehicles entering the U.S. Polls show Trump and Democratic nominee Kamala Harris are locked in a tight race just weeks ahead of Election Day, with the outcome expected to be decided by slim margins in battleground states like Michigan and Pennsylvania.
Let's talk about the Red Camp now. Donald Trump addressed an audience at the Detroit Economic Club in Michigan and also the critical battleground state in the 2024 race. The Republican leader once again began the conversation with the deadly hurricane storming through U.S. and slammed the Democrats' government for not doing enough.
I'd like to congratulate governors of Florida, Ron DeSantis, Governor Brian Kemp of Georgia and South Carolina, Henry McMaster. They were really hit hard, and they've done really a fantastic job. The federal government, on the other hand, has not done what you're supposed to be doing. In particular, with respect to North Carolina, they've let those people suffer unjustly.
Well, Trump's comments in the past few days have created a controversy. Many of his statements have also been rebuked by people in his own party. At least 3 congressional Republicans, including North Carolina Representative Chuck Edwards, have condemned fellow party members for repeating Trump's conspiracy theories about the storms.
Pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand.
We'll see on to stories from the United States of America. In the wake of Hurricane Milton, U.S. President Joe Biden has announced that the damage could reach an astounding $50 billion. The president made his comments on Friday during a briefing with key cabinet members, urging Congress to provide urgent support for the victims of the storm. Biden also confirmed his plans to visit Florida this Sunday to assess the damage firsthand. Biden stressed the need for additional funding, particularly for small businesses which have been severely affected by the storm.
We're going to be going to the Congress. We're going to need a lot of help. We're going to need a lot more money as we identify specifically how much is needed. So I'm just telling everybody now, I don't want to hear that this is going to be the end of it.
Biden also rejected claims made by Republican presidential contestant Donald Trump about disaster relief, saying he has a big mouth. The aftermath of Hurricane Milton has left millions reeling. The official death toll has risen to 16, with millions still without power. Residents are beginning to restore their homes and clearing debris. Experts have warned that climate change has intensified Hurricane Milton. Reports indicate that the storm grew from Category 2 to Category 3, causing major damage to communities in its path. In other global news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau came face-to-face at the ASEAN summit in Laos. This is the second time that Trudeau has come face-to-face with Prime Minister Modi since ties went cold in September 2023. Well, the last time that Trudeau and Modi spoke face-to-face was in June on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Italy. India has said that ties with the Canadian government cannot be repaired unless Ottawa takes strict and verifiable actions against those who actively pursue anti-India activities and have conspired to promote hate, disinformation and communal harmony and violence in India as well as in Canada. This, as Trudeau told the reporters that he and Modi had a brief exchange. The Canadian Prime Minister said that he will not go into details about what he spoke about, but said that the safety of Canadians and upholding the rule of law is one of the fundamental responsibilities of any Canadian government. And that's what he will stay focused on. Well, ties between India and Canada went southwards after Trudeau accused the Indian government of being involved in the killing of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Sources say India continues to expect that anti-India Khalistani activities will not be allowed to take place on the Canadian soil, and that firm action, which is lacking so far, will be taken against those advocating violence and extremism against India from the Canadian soil. Canada has seen many anti-India rallies which have been taken out by anti-India Khalistani elements. The rallies and the comments continue despite New Delhi's concerns over them. Now, Nijjar, a designated terrorist by India in 2020, was gunned down by masked men outside a Gurudwara in British Columbia in 2023. 4 Indian nationals are accused of first-degree murder and conspiracy in connection to his murder. The high-profile case is currently working its way through the Canadian court. India has denied any involvement in the killing, calling the allegations absurd. Prime Minister Modi, who was in Laos to attend the ASEAN summit and the East Asia summit, did not have a bilateral meeting with Trudeau. Prime Minister Modi, however, met a series of world leaders, including meeting with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese of Australia, one of Canada's Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance partners. Prime Minister Modi also met with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken and also the New Zealand Prime Minister on the sidelines of the East Asia Summit. He also extended his condolences to Blinken on the loss of lives due to Hurricane Milton. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also addressed the East Asia Summit in Laos as the only leader in the room who had participated in most number of East Asia summits. He was given the rare honor of addressing the summit immediately after the host and the incoming chair. Well, Prime Minister Modi focused on multiple issues pertaining to the global south, and pronounced the East Asia Summit as a pillar of India's Act East policy. Prime Minister Modi called for peaceful South China Sea as he asserted the need to follow the principles of freedom of navigation and airspace in the region. Just a day after surviving a no-confidence motion, France's newly formed government delivered its proposed budget for 2025. The announcement included spending cuts and tax hikes. Well, Budget Minister Laurent Saint-Martin made the announcement that included a major cut to government spending by almost $66 billion. At a press conference, Martin said that the steps were required in order to reduce deficit and contain the country's debt.
Our budget is one of responsibility, seriousness and ambition. The 2025 budget bill proposes a public finance recovery of 60 billion euros for the next year. This is an urgent effort to respond to the degradation of our public finance. This is an unprecedented effort in terms of its scale, and especially this is an effort necessary to bring down the deficit to 5%.
Be useful during my time as Prime Minister. I don't know how long. It depends on Parliament and the National Assembly. I want to mark this period, however long it lasts, with an honest and responsible effort towards the French people. So we are going to ask the French people to make an effort of 60 billion. I want this effort to be fair and balanced. In fact, in terms of savings, it will be spread over a sum of 40 billion, with everyone doing their bit.
The proposed budget is expected to be met with intense criticism from left-wing lawmakers when it will be submitted in Parliament. While Prime Minister Barnier and his right-leaning cabinet survived the first no-confidence vote, several centrist and right leaders have threatened to reject tax increases. It remains to be seen at the moment if the government will face another no-confidence vote over the budget. Moving on, senior members of Sri Lanka's Rajapaksa clan, they have made an announcement. The decision not to contest the upcoming 2024 elections in Sri Lanka. Given the family's long-standing influence in Sri Lankan politics, the announcement by the former presidents Mahinda and Gotabaya Rajapaksa, along with former MPs Basil and Chamal Rajapaksa, it marks a major shift in the island nation's political landscape. Mahinda Rajapaksa, who served as president from 2005 to 2015, is credited with ending the civil war, but also faced criticism later for authoritarian policies in Sri Lanka. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, his younger brother, served as president from 2019 until his resignation in July 2022 amid widespread demonstrations triggered by the country's severe economic crisis. The 2022 economic crisis was marked by crippling shortages of essential goods, skyrocketing inflation, and widespread discontent over management and corruption. This turmoil led to mass demonstrations, resulting in Gotabaya's resignation and eventually fleeing the country. Gotabaya was the first such leader to flee the country, diminishing the Rajapaksa's family's political capital. Basil Rajapaksa, a key figure in Sri Lankan politics, is the younger brother of former presidents Mahinda and Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He served as the Minister of Finance and later as the Minister of Economic Policies and Plan Implementation in his brother's government. He is known for his role in shaping economic policy. He was influential in promoting infrastructure projects and social welfare programs and schemes. However, despite his contributions, he faced criticism and backlash for his handling of the economy, especially during the 2022 crisis. As the senior Rajapaksa clan steps back, former minister Namal Rajapaksa, son of Mahinda Rajapaksa, will take the helm of the Sri Lankan Podujana Perumana campaign, which is the SLPP party, as a nationalist nominee. The election is set for November 14, 2024. It will be crucial to see how the SLPP navigates the challenging political terrain in the wake of a Anura Dissanayake-led government and also the family's declining popularity in Sri Lanka. And now let's see what's making news in the world of sports. There is no stopping a reigning Australian and US Open champion Aryna Sabalenka. The Belarusian has perhaps regained the world #1 ranking and is now into the Wuhan Open semi-finals. The two-time defending champion defeated Magdalena Frech in the quarter-finals. After navigating 2 tricky rounds, the top seed returned to a usual best in the quarter-finals. Sabalenka needed 2 tight sets to get past Katerina Siniakova in the second round and then came from a set down to defeat Yuliya Putintseva in the third. The two-time Australian Open champion unleashed her powerful forehand against Frech. She broke her opponent twice to race out to a 4-0 lead and then held her own serves to secure the first set. Poland's Frech tried to fight back in the second set. She got her first break when she was 0-3 down and was within touching distance of making it 3-3. However, Sabalenka saved 2 break points to maintain her lead and broke again to secure a 6-2, 6-2 victory in 1 hour and 23 minutes. With this win, the top seed has extended her unbeaten record in Wuhan to 15 wins and 0 losses. Well, are you an avid collector? Do you like watching Netflix? Fancy getting your hands on items from your favorite Netflix shows? Well, our next story is just for you. From royal drama The Crown to the hit series Black Mirror, Netflix is offering fans the chance to buy an array of goods from its shows in a pop-up shop opening in 2 British cities. All the proceeds from this, as seen on Netflix sales, will go to the British mental health charity Mind.
We are in, as seen on Netflix, which is a pop-up shop and an online auction where we are giving fans the opportunity to own a piece of Netflix, things straight out of the screen on TV shows and films, costumes, props, wigs, signed merch from the favourite stars, all up for grabs, and we are selling it to make money for Mind, who are taking all of the profits.
On sale is a suit worn by Gillian Anderson when portraying late UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher in The Crown. Also, a bike from Sex Education and hair clips from Bridgerton. There are also props and costumes from shows like Heartstopper, One Day and The Gentleman, among others, with prices starting from $1.30.
We wanted this to feel like something that all fans can come to, have a look around, have a great experience when they're in here and then take something home. So it starts at £1 all the way up to higher ticket items, but there is something in these stores that you can afford, which was the real goal for this.
As seen on Netflix, has opened in London for today. The pop-up shop will move to Birmingham on October 19th. Apart from this, an online auction will run from October 11th to 21st, selling a range of wardrobe pieces and props. On that note, we call it a wrap. Thanks very much for staying with us. You're watching WION World is One. Do stay tuned.
Mozambique holds a general election on the 9th of October, but voters fear they will be deprived of a fair and democratic electoral process. The Southern African nation and is one of the poorest countries in the world. despite its vast natural gas deposits. Kenya's Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua apologizes to his boss, President William Ruto, and citizens after lawmakers launched an impeachment proceeding.
If you insubordinate the state, you are not worth being a state officer.
And Ethiopia's capital hosted thousands at the Irecha Heritage Festival on one end of Addis Ababa, and on the other, thousands celebrated an annual religious festival marked by the lighting of bonfires, according to the beliefs of the local Orthodox Christian faithful. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION World is One.
This week on the West Asia Post. 1 year on, the war in Gaza rages. Little is left of the enclave, which was once home to 2.3 million. Israeli attacks turn entire neighborhoods to rubble. Centuries-old mosques and churches demolished and vital agricultural lands destroyed. Children killed and orphaned as civilians pay the heaviest price. The war in West Asia expands as the world powers fail in de-escalation efforts.
Watch the West Asia Post with me, Radi Francis, only on WION. World is One.
We bring you this week's festive episode of Wings from the ground at CR Park in New Delhi, where people throng to celebrate Durga Puja. We also explore the story and history of Dussehra and cover the 9-day dance festival Garba. This week is all about celebrating India's festive season, so tune in this weekend on WION. World is One.
Hello there, you're watching WION World is One. Thank you very much for joining us at this hour. I'm Eric Njoka. Let's begin this broadcast with the headlines. Israel on high alert as nation observes the solemn Yom Kippur holiday. More than 120 rockets were fired at Israel in the first hours of the holiday. Special alert systems in place to warn the population. The United States hits Iran's oil and petrochemical sectors with new sanctions in response to Tehran's October 1st attack against Israel, designates dozens of new companies and firms. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky meets German President Frank